swimming the forbidden zone. They were captured by the shrewdness of apes. But what the hell is the shrewdness of apes? And why is Taylor wearing a man frock and singing City looks like Fraggle Rock? Did the Chambers, did the Insulin, Mr. Spot? These are just the facts we try not to mock on. The minute of the apes. 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 Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Todd. Across from me, I've got Richard and Sean. Hello, boys.
Hey.
So we are to the Friday edition. I'm going to make sure that in this week we say thank you to Pete and Alex from the Star Wars Minute, who may not have necessarily created the whole genre, but probably did a lot to make it more popular than we could ever ask for. If you've never spent time listening to the Star Wars Minute, go over and listen to it, because I've said it before. For a Star Wars freak like me, it's an outstanding experience. They come close to, I don't know that anybody can achieve it, but they come close to make me almost like the prequels. Close. But
It's a big, tall order to carry.
I was about to say, you're asking a lot of anybody, but they do a great job. There's also a ton of other people out there in the Movies by Minute family that are doing movies, Back to the Future, The Godfather, you name it, somebody's doing it. Go to moviesbyminute.com and you can find a list of everybody out there. There are people adding movies daily. So check it out. If you like what we're doing, you like what they're doing, check it out. Okay. Is that enough housekeeping for Friday?
Quit overselling it. Let's get into it.
Okay, no more overselling. Sean's told me to move on. So we're at minute 70. Minute 70 begins with Honorius tugging on Taylor's leash and ends with Cornelius trying to read Taylor's writings. Sean, any updates, or can we move on?
We still got our same two humans alive, dead, whatever.
All those people.
All that crap.
So
Taylor's awfully passive with the collar and leash being around him. Why doesn't he just yank him out of Honorius's hand when he's like tugging on him, asking him questions and everything?
he does go to a point when, now that he can talk, he simply is reactive. He just sort of lets everybody else. If I'm in a Planet of the Apes, if I'm in a situation where they're judging me unfairly, do you know these articles of faith? Do you know this and that? I'm stepping and going, hey, motherfucker, stop tugging on my thing and talk to me.
Yeah.
He takes a dig at him. He in the previous minute, he said, I know nothing of your culture. I admit that. Honorius says he doesn't know our culture because he cannot think. Tell us why all apes are created equal. And Taylor goes, some apes, it seems, are more equal than others.
Which is big for Taylor to point
Yeah.
that hypocrisy out.
Exactly. Like you want to claim that you are all equal. Well, you're not. I can tell you right now. I mean, it is like just that really kind of sharp dig, and that really just kind of pisses him off.
Some of you guys are Taylor, some of you guys are Stewart.
Well, going back to what we talked about in so much of this, the entirety of what does this all mean at that time, you're going to quote essentially religious scripture. You're going to quote these kind of things that man is created in the image of God. You come back and say that another man is lesser than another. How can one man be created in the image of God but be lesser to the other? And that's a pretty deep thought for the 60s. To come in and say that, to have Charlton Heston, the pinnacle of manhood, which we've all asked about his machismo, where men wanting to be it, where women coveting it, and for him to suddenly come along and say, we got what some people seem like they're a little more so than others. That's a pretty hard question for that time.
Yeah, exactly. For him to state, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Honor says, tell us, Bright Eyes, why do men have no souls? What is the proof of divine spark that exists in the simian brain? So he mentions divine spark. Again, we're discounting the idea of evolution.
Right.
That it's a divine spark that exists in the simian brain, not in man's brain. That men have no souls. And you have to admit, there was a point where we would talk about racism in the country. We would talk about whites versus blacks, and they were treated as if they were soulless and godless.
And I was brought to thinking of, and I can't remember if it was 12 Years a Slave, or was it 12 years? Was that?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't help but think of the slave owners. I don't remember what film it would be about slavery that I might have seen that they said it, but I started thinking of, in this moment, the apes sound like slave owners. You take somebody from their land.
They want to be there. They don't have the rationale not to be there.
Yes. It's that same kind of thinking where it's, they aren't this. They come here, they don't understand it. Our slave owners justified the soullessness of the slave by saying they can't understand what we're doing. They can't understand our society. They're soulless. They're godless. No. You extracted them from their land, their God, their things, their rules. They don't speak your language, and suddenly you're judging them based on it.
We're in this particular ape society. We already have a hierarchy based upon orangutans versus gorillas versus chimpanzees and so on. So this society already has a hierarchy. So fitting man into that hierarchy at the lowest level with no soul is just part of their own type of caste system that they've already established. So for them, it makes sense that you would just have these established roles. We see that today sometimes in gender roles. We see that today in age and all sorts of things. And this is just kind of pointing out that this exists throughout time, whether you call it slavery or whether you call it a caste system, whether you call it racism or
if you have an abusive relationship between a man and a woman or just two partners, one person is saying you don't have the understanding I do. Anytime you suppress another person, you're going to give these ideas out. You're going to say you're not on the same level I am.
But it was very nice to have Taylor just kind of step forward and to point it out to them that some apes are equal more than others, and I think that just goes right over their heads.
It does. Does Zaius listen to it? We don't get a shot of him saying, "Oh, I heard that, and I hope no one heard it in return." But it's more of a under the breath kind of quip that you don't know that anyone's going to hear it.
I mean, it doesn't. We get no satisfaction from the line being said as a viewer. We only that the line is said.
Except that maybe we do get a satisfaction because we understand the injustice, and we're thinking that under our breath too. When they pose it, we do get that satisfaction.
I mean, no reaction.
Okay,
it doesn't lead to anything.
Agreed.
Whenever they started lobbing questions at Taylor about hey, what did this law mean? What does this law mean? I want him to come right back and say, well, who won the World Series in '56 and who's the president in '69 and why didn't my mommy love me? And,
well, hell, Marty McFly is a little bit more interested in the understanding of truth that, look, I'm from a different time than you and I understand different relevance than you. In those films, he's able to look and say, I understand things you don't. Mm-hmm. Taylor has no ability to look and say, hey, hang on. I come from a place and this is what we were a country founded on this. Talk about the principles of the country. He can't even talk about it.
It is a little bit frustrating from a standpoint that we have an interested party with zero that is actually listening to him, regardless of what Cornelius says. And he has an audience where he can talk about these things and he can be impassioned and convincing. And no, he's Taylor. No, that's all we get. We don't get anything deeper than that. Right. He occasionally has some very smart, replies, but ultimately he is also at fault for his own situation and his inability to persuade and convince, regardless of what's happening in the larger picture with culture. Up to this moment, he's been unable to convey his plight in such a way that he gains sympathy from. I mean, I would have been talking to Julius in the cell, trying to find some common. I would have been trying to find some common bond with him.
You like hopping up and down and spraying me. I like getting washed off, and let's work it out.
We're both so beaten down. You're on the low rung. I was in the budget era. What was it? You came up with what the N meant. ANSA.
I've already forgotten how many beers.
But no matter what, you could go to him and find the commonality of our experience, and he doesn't do any of it. He's never willing to say, "Wait, hang on, we're both in a good situation. Talk to me."
It's only when they're interested in him, and then he wants to then he tries to be a smartass. The whole point about saying he went to what high school he went to, or middle school he went to. In that one particular minute a little while ago, I'm like, wow, you're a smartass. I would have been so mad at you if I were with you on that spaceship and came in and that's how you're behaving. I'd be like, no, don't talk to him. Talk to me.
So there comes the point when Taylor asked Cornelius to read something for him, and the line is, since the defendant wasn't forbidden to speak on his own defense. He had to write it down, Okay, was there a point though when he was told you can't speak on your own defense? I don't recall that.
I think he was just trying to keep him silent and putting the gag around his neck.
Okay, maybe
And so
that's what it was.
As soon as that happened, he went over and started writing on the table.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shuffle there where we're not quite sure. Onerous kind of pulls on the leash and throws it over his shoulder, and he basically hands the paper to Taylor. Taylor hands the paper to Cornelius, and then Cornelius kind of approaches the bench. And there was this kind of interesting moment where the president just kind of tosses his hand to the side, like, take this paper back. You read it yourself. I'm not going to read it. Right. I found it very dismissive of the president. It's kind of like, Cornelius, I'm not doing this. You read it out loud. I'm not going to talk about this.
I find the entire thing to be odd. Again, to use your thing of talking dogs. Mm-hmm. If talking dogs came to this planet, we'd all be sitting there going, hang on, talk to me. You mean somebody else can and you're a dog?
Even if there is somehow some secret society of dogs have been on our planet for, hundreds of thousands of years, and we've grown up together and we've domesticated them, but there was a secret society that we didn't know about 200,000 years ago where they could talk and everything, and then that kind of faded away and the dogs quit talking. We would still go, wait, this dog can talk? What the shit?
So, does the council know that there is intelligent man and they want to shut it down?
There's some sort of society that...
And they don't want it to exist. They want to put a kibosh on it.
At this point, that's my feelings. I mean, it seems like...
That's been my thought all along.
They're shutting it down because they know that it exists and it cannot
They know
exist.
something's going on. There seems like all the orangutans are trying to shut it down because they just don't want humans to be seen as anything sort of intelligent.
And maybe they clothe them. Maybe they give them something to make them modest.
Maybe they make them bras.
All I'm going to say is that maybe if this film is successful, by the time we have a second sequel, we'll have a moment where somebody might question and say, hey, hang on, you shouldn't be talking. Talk to me. I'm just going to say that. That's me just kind of doing a Richard moment, having a moment looking in the future.
I quite literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Good. I like that you don't know.
Well, with that, does anybody else have anything else? Because there's just kind of more court procedural stuff going on.
It is. It is setting up the questions that we have to pose if we're going to expose any truth as we go forward.
It's about
correct?
Science and their society. It's about their court system and that it's based on religion.
It's about us.
What they believe about humans. What they believe about themselves.
Exactly. It's about their hierarchy, their class system, and it's potentially about putting down the idea of man because maybe they know something.
Maybe
we'll find out in future minutes.
Maybe. Okay. No more maybes. Are we done with maybes?
Maybe, baby.
I knew that was coming.
Call me maybe.
Wow, I didn't know that was coming, but I like that even better. All right, that's it for this week for Minute of the Apes. You can go to our website, minuteoftheapes.com. You can look for everything there. You can find pictures of each one of us. You can see our pretty little faces.
Aww.
You can say, aw, those are the guys I listen to every day. But no matter what, go there, interact with us, like our post, email us, share our post, tell your friends about us, rate us, anything that you want to do. We've got it there so that you can do it. So for Minute of the Apes, I'm Todd. I've got Richard and Sean across from me.
Bye.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
The Minute of the Apes.